Hello, everyone. Welcome to You Inside You, the podcast where you discover how to know, recognize, and trust the voice of your true self. I'm Trina Schmidt, and today we're going to be talking about how true success isn't necessarily measured by external achievements. It's about alignment with your true self, success in life in general. I believe, the journey about entering the deep knowing, trusting, and honoring who you are in every area of your life will flourish. Your health, your relationships, career, finances, and leadership. You Inside You is a transformational podcast designed to guide you back to the incredible person that you already are. This is why I launched this space for you. This is a safe space. This is a protected space where we see you, where we honor you, and we accept you for who you are. So on this podcast, we have inspiring stories of resilience, healing, empowerment, and we explore what it truly means to break free from some of those limitations that we all go through and trust the inner voice and step into your higher potential. So we will uncover practical strategies, powerful mindset shifts, and soul expanding insights to help you reclaim your life, awaken your power, and step boldly into the future that you deserve. So it's time to break free. It's time to align. It's time to rediscover the you inside you. So today we're going to have another powerful conversation with a person who has also navigated some of life's toughest challenges. I have with me today Melissa DaSilva. She's a licensed social worker, entrepreneur, therapist, and artist who empowers mental health professionals to grow successful businesses. She is the author of The Profitable Practice and founded Assistant to the Therapist to connect providers with virtual assistants. And this is how I met Melissa, because I was like, oh my gosh, she's doing what I kind of need, because all therapists need a virtual assistant. I'm just saying. So with over 15 years of experience, she champions LGBTQ plus mental health and continues to lead, create, inspire, all the way from Puerto Rico. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. It's been so long since I've been on a podcast, so I am so amped to be getting out here on the podcast waves again. So thank you for inviting me.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
What made you decide? Let's just start there. So I know you did not grow up in Puerto Rico, right?
No, I grew up in Rhode Island.
Okay.
And hating winter every single year. You know, my birthday's in September, and for me that was always like, oh, my birthday, first day of school usually. I don't have any friends to invite to my birthday party because we just all lost contact during the summer. And then it's getting cold. Okay, now seasonal depression's kicking in. Oh, and now we have the holidays with my dysfunctional family. And so I'm like, all right, after 30 something years, you know, I'm like, I'm old enough. I can make a decision. I can move out of Rhode Island. I can move out of New England. And I had originally looked at like Costa Rica because I used to watch House Hunters, and I was like, that's where I want to be. And so, you know, having mania can be a hindrance at sometimes, and sometimes it could be good. And so I'm like, I'm moving to Costa Rica. And then after like some research, I'm like, oh, I need a visa. Oh, I'm married. Oh, like, you know, all these other things.
More complicated.
And so things shook out to where I'm like, all right, Puerto Rico makes more sense. I don't need a visa. I think I know one person down there who has a podcast, and I kind of know them from some conferences. So I guess that's where I'm going to go. So I ended up here in 2020.
Oh, love that. You know, I just want to shout out to my friend Greg, who does a lot of bold action coaching. I'm thinking about him right now. You know, the fact that we allow ourselves to just really, really step out there. You know, I moved from Denmark to the US, and I did not necessarily see it as a bold move. Obviously it was a bold move, but I moved for love, and it was kind of just this is what I have to do kind of thing. But you look back at it and it's like, it's a big step, right?
Yeah.
And doing it for something that just makes sense. Why not? You know, we have this one life, and the limitations are really only the ones that we put on ourselves, right? And that's what we're going to be talking about. That today is really that journey to the you inside you. So I'm going to start off asking you, what or how do you define the true self
Mm.
or your true self?
I feel like the true self is who you are when you're by yourself, and those quiet moments without the distractions. And when you're able to reflect on who you are inside, what makes you your special, the special you. I think that's what the true self is. You don't have the outside noise telling you what you are. When you are able to kind of have that conversation with yourself, that's who the true self is, the one that's speaking back to you.
Mm.
Yeah.
So some people have problems with being alone. I can just kind of imagine, because, you know, I have 3 kids and a husband, you know, I'm remarried, and I spend a lot of time on planning and directing and, you know, doing all the family stuff and working on my business on the side. There's so much noise and so much planning. And I now really value time to myself. Like, I really can connect with my true self. However, I do remember a time in my life where I did not necessarily like being by myself.
Yeah.
And when I was by myself, it's almost like I was so much in the noise of my head that I know now was certainly not my true self. Can you speak a little bit to that part of, you know, if you are one of those people that don't necessarily like to be alone and doesn't like to be in your own head and want to be with other people, how can you kind of distinguish between your true self and just kind of that noise?
I remember working on this in my early 20s because I thought, like, if I'm by myself, I'm a loser, right? I need to go to the movies. I got to have somebody to come with me. And I had a therapist at the time that was just like, go to the movies by yourself. And I remember I went by myself. I saw a Minority Report. I remember this. And I was almost in tears in the movies because I was so anxious about being by myself. And it took practice. It took work to really be okay, knowing like nobody else cares that you're at the movies by yourself. They probably are envious of you because you're by yourself. And so it takes practice, even just a little bit, you know, a day, like go for a walk to the mailbox by yourself, not having the phone in your hand. It really takes time and self-soothing too. Like, Melissa, it's okay that you are by yourself. It doesn't mean anything on your own character. And now I live by myself. I quite enjoy my alone time. And I just think I'm the funniest thing in the world here.
Are you one of those people too that kind of like talk to yourself and kind of have these conversations with yourself doing something
Oh yeah, and it
funny
helps
just for your own entertainment?
a very catty cat too. He'll talk all day long. So the cat and the dog. And then, you know, I have a lot of virtual assistants, so I'm seeing them online. But at the end of the day, I am by myself and I get to enjoy me and just realize like it's okay. And I love this. And, you know, Friday nights, sometimes I'm by myself and be like, this is okay. I don't have to be going out and doing things. It's okay to be walking the dog by myself and having this time with myself, because this is who I truly am. And this is who's going to be with me at the end of the day, right? It's going to be myself, and have to be okay with that.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. And that's just so true. And I can kind of imagine that when we're born, most of us at least are very conditioned into this way of being, right? That we're supposed to go a certain way and be a certain way and do certain things in order to fit in and be okay and be loved and be validated. And 20s, 30s, we start kind of like finding ourselves and actually refining ourselves to kind of depending on the life we go through. And then we spend the next few decades kind of like unwiring all the conditioning that has put on us, right? Which takes practice. This is the practice that you're talking about, because we have not been taught how to be alone with ourselves and be alone with our thoughts and really understanding and defining what does it even mean? What is quote unquote normal? And what we're taught to be normal is not necessarily normal. It's just a bunch of BS that we've been told.
Yes.
And this practice journey to allowing ourselves to be alone is really part of that journey to be okay with who we are, right? That I'm fun to be with. You know, have you ever heard, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking to, you know, the listeners, is really this notion of you got to be okay with being alone and being by yourself before you're with someone else. Not saying that you can't discover your true self in a relationship, because I believe, I mean, we're never really there, right? We're never really finding our true self and all in light. So, but there is some work around that of really being okay with being who we are. And you just step outside of your comfort zone. I mean, I've yet to try to be in the movie theater by myself. Greg, again, that's on your list of stepping outside to doing bold actions. He's done some crazy things. He's a fun guy. But when do you first become aware of this voice of your true self?
Yeah, I remember I was married at the time and laying in bed and just feeling, is this it? Is this it? And it was just like this sense of like, gosh, this can't be it. And I just remember crying, thinking like, I'm in my mid-30s, this just can't be everything. And then COVID really shook the world for a lot of people. And I was like, this can't be it. And that's when I was like, well, what is it that I truly want? And maybe it's not being married. Like, maybe it's not living in Rhode Island. Maybe it's running a business online. Maybe it's creating a family in Puerto Rico. Like, that's not related to me by blood. Like, I have a chosen family here now. And so it's just that moment, I just remember it very clear in my mind saying like, is this it? And is it going to be it forever? And that's not what I want. And then making those moves. And it was uncomfortable, and it was uncomfortable for other people around me. And, you know, it was just like, okay, I have to take responsibility for my emotions, my actions, and move forward and continue moving forward. And sometimes I do look back and like, oh my gosh, I did that. I like just up and I said I was going to Puerto Rico for 6 months, and now it's been 5 years, and like just kind of like dealing with all that stuff. But realizing at the end of the day, when I wake up in the morning and I can see the sunrise over the ocean, and I'm like, this is what I wanted. This is what I envisioned in my 20s. This is my dream, and I get to live my dream, and I'm very happy with that. And that is not what society told me I should want. Like, they said you should want to be married, you should be wanting kids, you should want a house, you should want to be like excited to raise your kids. And I knew that that's not me. Like, I never wanted kids, and I was okay with that. And being okay with society telling me that, and me being okay with be like, it's not okay. I'm selfish, and I'm okay with being selfish.
Yeah, because that selfishness is really, I'm going to put my mask on first, right? Like, I'm going to fill my bucket first, and then I can be there for everyone else. We're depleted and we're going on half fumes, then we can't serve the way we're put on earth to serve, right? That's the selfishness that you're talking about, I assume.
Yeah.
And I love how you shared that moment. Everybody saw me kind of like going this when you're talking about it, because I can recognize that defining moment in my own life. And I probably had a few of those defining moments where you really like question life. So the questioning of life and kind of having life close in your face, it's almost like your inner voice became louder. Because a lot of times this voice of our true self can be it's very subtle, right? It's very soft. A lot of times it's when we're really quiet that we can finally listen to it instead of in the busyness of life. How did you trust it? How did you allow yourself to listen to that and kind of abandon the what if and yeah, but and shoulds and oughts, right?
I kind of came up with like, if stuff goes down, then I'm going to figure out how to fix it. It might not be the way that I want, but I'll figure out how to fix it. I'm a survivor, right? I'm going to figure it out. I'm not going to end up on the streets. You know, I can do it. Like every day with business, if the business goes down, I'll figure it out. I know I can. And just have that strength in myself and know that I can rely on myself. Because I know that I will get myself through it.
So you have built some resources up to that kind of got you knowing that you could figure it out, that you have the foundation to feel confident in saving yourself out of anything and figuring anything out. How did you build that resiliency? Like, where is that coming from? Is that your training, your professional background, or where did that start?
I think it comes from just growing up with my mom, being a single mom, and seeing the struggles that she had gone through. And there were times where she said, like, you know, we're close to being in the homeless shelter, and knowing like she figured it out. You know, she's had her own limitations and stuff like that, but we survived and we pushed forward. And just knowing that, like learning that, like you can figure it out, talk to people, ask people for help if you need help, and be okay with that. And be true at your own heart too, because people will see that. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that she's given me, is just knowing like you'll survive, you're strong enough, you can do this. And she'll even say that to this day, like, you can do this. She might not even know what I'm talking about, but she was like, you can do this. I know you can, you have the strength. And she's like, you haven't done anything the way other people do it. You can figure this out. And that's just the way it's been. Like, I'll figure it out and I'll do work.
Your mom almost spoke into the you inside you.
Yeah.
Right? She was kind of that deeper voice that
Mhm.
allowed yourself to expand that space of, I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the irony of that is then, you know, you're also saying like, well, I don't want to be in the same situation as mom was in. Like, I
Yeah.
want to make those same mistakes. And so
Yeah.
there's this push and pull. Like, yes, you've given me my creative side, but I don't want that other stuff too. And, you know, that I think as we grow up, trying to grapple with that, of like, how much do we take from what we've gone through, and how much do we kind of say, like, it is what it is. They did what they can, and now let's move on and create our own path.
What has been the most difficult lesson in life that you've learned that is now leading into this, I can create my dream life?
Mm. I think the lesson that I have learned the most lately, maybe in the past 5 years, is because I live from a true heart, and I know that I do things out of caring and trust and love. Not everybody does. And to be in tune with that, not project what I would do, but keep my eyes open for the people who might not live that same way, who will take advantage, who do not care as much as I may care about something. And that is their truth, and that is how they live. But for me, learning that is very important, is keep your eyes open, keep, that gut feeling. Like if something's feeling off, listen to it, because your gut tells you something even before your head tells you something. And keeping that in check. And I think that's been one of the biggest lesson learning, like going to a place, an island where I don't know anybody, and trying to navigate that has been one of the hardest lessons.
Wow. That's a really, really great point that you're raising here in talking about trusting your instincts, trusting your gut, trusting the voice of the you inside you. Because I get these questions a lot from the people that I work with, is but Trina, how do I know
Mm-hmm.
that voice? And
Yeah.
I remember ask myself that. And I love how you say, even the last 5 years, it's kind of, a lesson that I'm learning, right? Especially when you're faced with a big move, a
Yeah.
big transition. I think that you are a little more alert to these things because you're
Mhm.
trying to figure things out. And it can also be a help in a sense of you are building something new. That means you don't have to necessarily redefine a lot of stuff with old relationships or old things. So you're kind of talking into boundaries a little bit. I
Yeah.
call it kind of the self-respect of knowing exactly what I want and what I need in life, still being respectful of where other people are at, accept them for where they're at,
Yeah.
and make sure that I'm not like crossing
Yeah.
these boundaries.
And as humans, we are comfortable in patterns. And I remember there was a point here on the island, and I looked around and I said, crap, I have created the same pattern that I created back in Rhode Island. And it wasn't until I saw that pattern, I was like, all right, this is got to change. I mean, right down to like, I have a black cat here, I have a flat-nosed dog here. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay. And so once you start seeing those patterns too, like trusting people, okay, Melissa, you burned yourself a couple of times just willy-nilly trusting people because you believe everybody is trustworthy because you feel that you are. It's when we can recognize those patterns of ourselves too. It's really important that we can see them and say like, all right, this is a pattern. Let's break this. We've seen this happen before.
Oh, this is so good. We talk about patterns and in relationships and how we
Mhm.
repeat things from our parents and recreating it in our relationships. And then we go from one unhealthy relationship to the next.
Mhm.
And you're talking about just the patterns that we just have in life,
Yeah.
right? Our routine or the things we like and don't like. So how do you break those patterns? What would be your suggestion and recommendation that when you become clear about that you're repeating this and you're creating the life that you kind of trying to get away from,
Yeah.
what are the steps towards that?
Sometimes it's almost like I have this conversation with my friend often is that if you're meeting somebody new and you are like drawn to them like crazy, this might be a reason why you're drawn to them. Is it something in their personality that you're comfortable with that might be creating this pattern that you're comfortable with? And so kind of realizing like, all right, why do I need to be around this person? Why am I like, oh, I'm into this hobby all of a sudden? And really trying to create space for this person. Well, it might be that pattern that I'm trying to create. Okay. So if I'm able to step back and look at that and I can say like, all right, is this relationship similar to somebody else that I've had in the past? If I'm creating a relationship with a new person, which I've had to do a lot down here, and I realize like, okay, I feel like we can have respectful conversation, we can have good boundaries. I'm not feeling like I'm drawn to their energy. All right, this might be a good thing. And it's for me, it might not be the same for other people, but it's this energy. If it's drawing me like a drug, then I know there's like something that's firing in my brain that's creating this pattern that I'm craving. And so be able to stop
Yeah.
and sit in the moment and look at it. All right, is this something that's okay?
That's a really good point in recognizing when we're almost a little bit like desperate, or when we're kind of addicted to something, our phones or TV, or mine was candy, almost my whole life. Like I would dream
Mhm.
about candy. I would think about candy. I would plan it for, the night. I
Yeah.
think about it all the time. That is kind of that cue
Hmm.
that we need to pay attention to, that there might be kind of a dysfunctional draw here,
Yeah.
not this organic flow. It's stronger than that.
Hmm.
And let's take a look at it. Let's step back and recognize. So once you take a step back, how would you know that I'm stepping in to repeat something that I'm trying to get away from, or this is actually a new thing, or I'm creating a new thing. It might be similar, but I'm shifting it into something that's meaningful to me. Like, how can you distinguish between the two of them?
For me, it's, can I create boundaries for myself and the other relationship? And can they respect that? Being able to communicate that with them. And so for me, if that can happen, then I'm like, okay, this is a green flag. All right, this is healthy. And looking at like, does this person's personality remind me of somebody in my past? Okay, if it's reminding me of a healthy or unhealthy, okay, is that okay? I mean, I was repeating the same patterns like I would see my mother making. And so I was just like, all right, well, that's a pattern. So let's try to alter that. And then I also find like, oh, well, this person's kind of boring. Well, why are they boring? Because they're not bringing you the chaos that your brain is desiring. All right. Well, if they're boring, well, are they really boring, or is it just your nervous system that's looking for that? Okay, well, do you actually like spending time with this person? And really having those conversations with myself.
Oh, I love that. So it's not just getting behind the addiction or that overly fast pull or draw that we have to them. It's also, I lost my train of thought. What was the last thing you said? I had a good point.
The boring people. That might be okay.
Oh yeah, so the judgment. So getting behind the judgment,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not just a draw, but there's also a judgment, because the other part of stepping into newness, right, is that a form of self-protection is also we're starting to judge things. I see it a lot in my teenage girls. They're like, oh, but they're, that's boring. Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't like that. That's not for me. I'm like, well, how would you know?
Yeah.
Well, I just know, but you haven't tried it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like something. But how would you know? So we practice is stepping outside of our comfort zone all the time, and then we evaluate.
Yes.
Right? Let's get to the other side of the judgment of boring. What does that even mean, right?
Yeah.
So the stepping back is almost like, I almost see it as like a buffet, that we're dissecting all the patterns and things we like and things we don't like, and we put it on a big buffet, right? Our relationships or our jobs or routine, what we like to do. And then we get to reselect it, right? Or pick new things. And like, okay, is it a black cat this time, or is it not? Maybe it's two cats, right?
Yeah.
And kind of look at the things and what feels right. And I love that process of really getting deep into, what do I want in life?
Yeah.
Because nobody has taught us that. I don't know about you, but nobody taught me. Like, I actually have very unique, special, amazing ideas and unfoldings in life that are just unique to me. And I kind of get to decide what it's going to look like.
And that's always exciting. Come to that. Like, I get to choose. I get to
choose, right? It's a buffet. Like, it's a big buffet. It's not restrictions, right? It's a buffet. And some of the items may be a little stuck to the table, and we get creative of figuring out how to release it. We'll have to get around it. Maybe you have to get around on the other side of the table, and then you can pick it from there. You can't reach it from here. And, you might have to move to Puerto Rico. You might have to get out of a relationship. You might have to stay in the relationship and bring some resources in and shift some mindsets and perspectives and do some inner healing. And then the relationship shifts. Like, it's just this buffet of options, right?
Yeah.
Where you get to take that moment and just, what feels right to me. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. And you need that peace. You need that quiet time to sit back and say, what is going on here? Is this what I want? Is this aligned with who I am? What I want now? And is it aligned with who I am now? It doesn't need to be aligned with who I thought I was going to be when I was 15. I thought I was going to be a school social worker, right? And so that's not what I am now. And to be okay with that. Like, change. Life is so long now. Switch up like what we want to do with our lives. And that's okay.
I know. Yeah. Embrace those changes, right? Embrace it. Oh my gosh. Like, let's figure it out and let's just jump into it.
Yeah.
So what about this journey of finding yourself, starting to listening to your true self, understanding that, starting taking actions towards that? What part of that journey led you now to helping other therapists? Because I can imagine that that's really kind of aligned with this. Oh, this is my purpose. Because I
Yeah.
thought I was going to be a school social worker, but here you are. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I was a school social worker, I realized, oh gosh, I don't like working for other people. Like that's, I don't want to do that forever. Also, I like to take naps throughout the day. So I needed a life that supported my napping schedule.
That's so important. They really are. Yes.
And then when I decided to go into private practice, I realized like, oh, I really like the business side of things. It's almost gamified at some point. Like how many clients can I get in and how can we make this grow and how many people we can help? And then realizing like, oh, there's other therapists that want to do this too. I want to share my information with them. And I love talking about business with people. That's just like gets me all pumped up for some reason. And so realizing like that's where I'm passionate and I want to be able to support other therapists so that they can continue to support other communities. And being able to do that, like I've seen other businesses grow where they're helping like hundreds and thousands of people. And so I was like, okay, this is where I want to be, is I can take my naps, I can talk about business with other people who are into business, and I can help the clients that I feel passionate about helping and still have time to travel. And so just really figuring out like, what do I like? What do I don't like? And create the business and life around it.
Oh, like you just stepped into effortless life, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just see your light up when you talk about it.
Yeah,
you know, this is your zone of genius. This is where you feel inspired to help and serve people.
Yeah. Yeah. And then with my virtual assistant business, like I work with virtual assistants in the Philippines and being able to go out there and experience their culture. And that was like a beautiful experience for me in January when I went out there to be able to meet the team and, you know, see like the life that they live out there, very different from what I'm used to. And, you know, I feel like so honored to be able to help them have a life that, you know, they can buy a house, they can support their families. I have an assistant who wants to save all the stray dogs in the Philippines. And so I'm like, all right, let's figure out how you can do that. And so being able to provide jobs for people in the Philippines has been really a passion for me too. And, you know, and be able to connect therapists who don't get reimbursed very much with affordable help. So being able to connect these two people in these two areas has been really passionate for me too. Like, let's help therapists so they can do their jobs, and let's also help other people who could benefit from, you know, good, secure jobs.
So you're really helping their journey as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
when life gets easier in bringing in resources, people can really tap into their own creativity and their own zone of genius.
Yeah.
Save all the stray dogs and whatever else they're passionate about, right? Because we want to get out of this life of struggle.
Yeah.
And one thing I've noticed, Melissa, is that a lot of people are stuck in this unawareness of hamster wheel. They might have some awareness in that they're in a routine or a pattern that they don't want to be in.
And if they are in it and they're okay with it, that's okay too. Like some people, that wheel is all right. We're good.
The wheel is okay as long as it serves a purpose. Like it's we're content with. I mean, we're talking about routine here, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the stuck hamster wheel of overdoing, overworking, abandoning ourselves a little more and a little more. And we have these dreams that are kind of floating out here and we feel like we can't really access them. And I find that the people that I have worked with, when they step outside of that hamster wheel far enough, that they can look back at it. And it's not until then that they truly realize, OMG, like, how did I not see it?
Mm-hmm.
We're so used to dysfunction, or we're so used to minimizing, and we're so used to numbing and dulling and dimming our lights that, like, how can people in that space, maybe listening to this, recognizing, like, I want something different, right? This aha that you have, like, is this what life is all about? And I remember being there as well. How do people get themselves unstuck?
Mm. I think that taking that moment to have that magical dream, if I had my ideal life, what would that look like? And think big, give yourself that moment to think big, and then kind of come back. Okay, well, what's a little change that I can make now that could help me start getting there? And talking to other people about it too is really important. I can't tell people enough, like, talk to a friend. If you don't have a friend, talk to a therapist, talk to, the barista, talk to somebody. Because also I find that when you're talking to other people, you're also inspiring the person that you're talking to as well. You kind of like open up, but just making those little changes a little bit at a time. You don't have to make a big change, right? They say if you can make 1% change every day, at the end of the year, that's a 365% difference than when you started. And so just figure, okay, what is it that I want? Well, maybe I want to build a shipping container house on the top of a hill. Okay, well, what's that little change that I can do to actually create that? Well, maybe I can read about it and start dreaming about it. Maybe I can do some sketching about it. Maybe I can do some research online. What are other shipping container houses looking like? So just making those little changes after you allow yourself to dream.
So it's really the cumulative effect, these changes that we're making. And I mean, you're really speaking to me directly right now, because I'm kind of in a new phase in life. I can look back and I can see the changes that I made in the past to get to where I'm at right now, and I can honor that and appreciate that. And when I was on the journey, it was maybe not as appreciative and felt like I was stuck and I really couldn't get out of it. Now I'm kind of in a new phase again, where I'm launching my own and creating programs and being out on social media, and it's very new and it's unnerving, and I'm trying to manage the thousands of egos that are multiplying inside of my head, right? Because it's also in the newness, all this judgments come in. And I love how you talk about the pavers that you're kind of laying out, because I can recognize when you were saying that, wow, I really minimize those small steps, because I'm a big picture kind of person, and I am ambitious, and I have very high expectations for myself.
Yeah.
And people listening, I know can relate to a lot of that, because you are an intuitive, empathetic, caring, high achieving person that just wants more in life. And thank you for the reminder of every single like little stone and rock and paper that we put in front of us will get somewhere.
Yes. Yeah.
So how do we recognize the little progress that we're making? Because for myself, I literally have to make myself kind of take credit or look at status, like, wait a minute, what did I do the last week just to create some momentum? So when we're getting off that hamster wheel and we start making changes, it's scary.
Yes.
So how do we give ourselves credit for that and actually noticing these steps that we're making?
And I think the scariness too is important to point out. Like, it is going to be scary. Whenever you try to do something different out of our routine, it's scary. And then humans adjust. That's a part of what makes us human is that we adjust. And so being okay with that temporary discomfort for the change is something that you need to get used to. So doing a webinar, like, okay, a webinar, one person shows up, but I was nervous and I was like, oh, I hope nobody shows up. But okay, one person showed up. I'm like, ugh. Okay, so I did it. And then after, I'm like, that wasn't bad at all. And just realizing like I had to put that paver down of not canceling that webinar because only one person showed up and get through it. And then be able to look back like, all right, I did that. So it's important to reflect. Yeah, it was uncomfortable. I did it. I survived and I'll do it again. And it won't be so scary. And just really reflect on each little step. At the end of the day, what did I do today? What was that 1%? Well, I got out of bed. Well, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that small, like the hamster wheel requires me to get off the hamster. I got to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Right?
So gratitude and celebration, and that's practice too, right? Because how many of us have been used to celebrating our successes? We're so quick at getting on to the next thing. Yeah, I did this, but I haven't done this, right?
Exactly.
And we look at our checklist at the end of the day and we're like, yeah, but I did 8 out of 10, but I didn't get to the last 2. Oh man, I didn't get to that,
The to-do list is never ending. There's never an end to a to-do list.
No.
We think there is, but there's always something you can add on there. It's just this idea we have. We have a list, we're going to end it. It never ends. And just realize that. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think holds people back from being their authentic selves?
I think fear of judgment for the most part. Judgment from family, judgment from society, judgment from ourselves. Social media is constantly judging us, right? Like, oh, I'm not doing that. Even for promotion, well, they promote better than me. Like, oh, I'm not good. Or who am I to promote myself? What am I good at? Like, it's judgment. We continue to judge ourselves. We grow up telling you like, oh, sit like a lady. Why? Because people are going to judge you. Sing like a lady, like we're constantly being judged, and we've kind of had that internal judgment. And so I think that is really what stops us, this fear of judgment.
So how do we let go of that?
We have to realize like, yeah, some people are going to judge, and what they think about it is none of our dang business, right? If we're doing it from our authentic self, if I'm out there promoting a webinar, I'm doing it because I want to reach people. Some people might think my eye looks weird. All right, who cares? Like,
and then what?
Right?
Yes.
I'm going to go out there, provide what I can. It's going to resonate with some people. Some people are going to be like, who does she think she is?
Yeah.
Whatever.
So kind of letting it go.
Yeah, let it go.
Moving on to the next thing.
And in the end, you're not as important as like you think other people think about, right? Like I work with somebody and like, oh, you must think this. I'm like, honestly, I haven't thought about you since the last time we spoke. So I'm not thinking about this stuff after we leave. Like, people, we got our stuff. People aren't looking at you and thinking about you more than that 20 seconds if they are. And just be able to. And at age too, like at a certain age, you're like, I don't care. Like I've gotten through so many years without caring what you're thinking. Like this is not going to impact me now.
Yeah, it is definitely a maturing thing. And as we get older, I've noticed that myself. So how do we teach the younger generation to not care so much about that?
I think we have to be proud in who we are, right? And I was thinking about this yesterday because my agency has this group for women who are over 60. And one of the things that they're saying is like, nobody looks at us anymore. We're invisible. And as a person who's younger than them, thinking like, crap, I'm going to get older and then nobody's going to see me anymore. And so we need to be the people who be like, no, we're not going to be invisible. I'm still going to stand out. I'm still going to dress up if I'm going out. Like we need people to show us like, it's okay to be authentically you, and you can make mistakes and say sorry, make amends and move forward and be that role model to that other person that might be looking at you who might be a few years younger. And looking at you as a mentor. And you might not see them because they might be seeing you on social media, but you need to stand in yourself, be authentic to who you are. That's what's important.
Yeah, so it comes from the inside. It comes from the way we show the world and present ourselves, and we model this. It's not so much necessarily teaching, but it is the influence that we have.
Yeah.
And I find that we have a responsibility here to the world, that if we're here, that we are responsible for showing up as who we are, so we can connect deeply with others in the same, even if they're not able yet to show up in the same capacity, they will be inspired, they will be influenced, and you never know who you're going to touch.
Yes.
In the way that you choose to show up. That's probably one of my biggest lessons that I've learned. As soon as you step into that, I say transformations change generations.
Yes.
You have much more impact on the world without, the judgment of others, because they don't really care, but you have very indirect influences on the people around us in the way that we speak, the way we show up, in our energy, in the relationship in between, that really will have a positive ripple effect, I believe. Right?
And I think learning that as a therapist too, like therapy, you're just planting a seed, and you may not know 13 years later that client comes back and says, hey, you said this thing 13 years ago and it made a huge difference. And so and I think I learned that many years back, and just realizing like we are all connected. And if we can just go out being truly who we are, our authentic selves, knowing who we are and being okay with that, taking that time with yourself, like, who am I? Do I like myself? Like, okay, like let's put that out there and be authentic.
Absolutely. And that is the shift that I continuously see with people, and I'm sure you see with the people that you work with, this shift of allowing themselves to show up more and more with their true voice, and communicating their needs and asking for what they want and showing up. And you just see the anxiety kind of goes down and the confidence going up, because life is just so less unpredictable. When you access and tap into that space, it's for people who want true control, this is it, but it's not control over, right? We're doing it through, like we're just channeling life and being inspired to just go with that, and nothing on the outside can really mess that up. Or it can influence, but it can never trip us up, because we always have a choice.
Yes.
To go back to the buffet, right? And be like, never mind, not gonna try that one again. It was a bit sour. I'm gonna come up with something new. Maybe I should try that one in the corner I haven't tried yet, right?
Yes.
And then I'll get back to you on that. Let's try something new. Let's try something different. That's the only way we're gonna start figuring out what feels right. We don't have all the answers. We don't know everything. I'm an expert in me, but I'm still exploring every day of, how do I like it today? And even things of preference and liking things, I think is still very human. Whereas who we are really it doesn't care. Yeah.
And I think the magic happens in those quiet spaces. Given that quiet space.
Yeah, absolutely. Melissa, what kind of legacy do you want to leave the world with?
Oh, the legacy I want to leave the world. When people think about me, I want them to remember she was an eccentric woman who wanted to make a huge impact on the people around her and share the knowledge that she learned along the way, in all the different ways that she had to share it. And I think that's the legacy that I want to leave.
And you have different ways, because you're artist too, right? And I had forgotten about that until I saw your bio, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's like a lady of, all tricks of the trade kind of thing.
Lots of things, yeah.
How does that come in, and what kind of artist are you? I just wanted you to talk a little bit about that before we.
Yeah, I just do mixed media art. I'm not like a professional. I just do what comes for me. I work a lot with alcohol ink, which is ink that you put on this plastic paper with rubbing alcohol, and it moves, right? You move it around with air, and when you start, you don't know what's going to happen, so you have to let go of that control. And so you end up making these pieces that are like, oh, wow, I see the ocean in this, and then work with that and how you can move it along the paper. And if you don't like it, you can wipe it all away.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really life, how life moves, right? The unpredictable ways. And,
and it comes out to be beautiful. And sometimes it looks like crud. And sometimes
art.
And I come back the next day and I'm like, oh, that's not too bad.
Right. If you look back at your life and look back to a younger version of yourself that might have found herself a bit lost or confused, what advice or what does she need to hear at that point in your life?
I think that person would have been in 4th grade, where every Friday night, well, not Friday night, every Thursday night was a struggle because Fridays were spelling test days. And I had a learning disability, and people just say like, oh, you'll have spell check, you don't really have to learn. And getting teary-eyed every night because I could not get the words right, and to this day I still cannot get the words right. And just telling her, like, you're going to be okay, you're going to figure out a way around this, and this is not going to stop you from being successful, because you're going to find a way to be successful in a different way, and you're going to be all right. And I think telling her that would have been really important. Like, you're okay. You're never going to be able to spell cancel, even though you say it at least 3 times a day and spell it at least 100 times a week. You're going to be okay. It's not going to be what's going to stop you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It doesn't define us.
Yeah.
With these labels or illnesses or circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, and even in grad school, I remember a professor saying, like, Melissa, your writing is awful. How is anybody going to take you seriously? And I was just like, well, I'm in grad school already, so the train has already left the station.
Yeah.
And I own 2 businesses. Like, I figured it out.
Absolutely. It's not about that. We all have weaknesses. We all have things that we're gonna work on to the rest of our lives that are just not easy for us.
Yeah. And
As
just
soon
learn
as
a way to figure out around it. Like, me having my own virtual executive assistant has been a huge impact on me. Like, I know what I'm weak at, and I can say, like, hey, this email has too many words. Can you just read it and just tell me what it is? Or I can't figure out my travel plans for the life of me. Can you just figure this out? And knowing, like, all right, I know where my deficits are, so what are the resources that I can utilize to get through that?
Yeah, I love that. It's all about resources. It's all about practicing, getting closer to who we are, what it is that we really want in life, creating the beautiful dream life that we desire, because anything is possible. Anything is figure outable. I love that word.
Yeah.
And keep your eyes open.
Mm-hmm. And also have a sense of humor about it too.
Yes.
That's for me a lot. Let's look at like, laugh at myself. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Before Melissa got on this podcast, she was like, can you hear my dog snoring? And I'm like, no. But if anybody heard any snoring in the background, it's just Melissa's dog.
It's Pepe.
I'm a big believer of having fun along the way. I call life my personal playground. And when I recognize that I could have fun every day, and I may not go on the biggest slide today if I don't feel up for it, or I may not do the monkey bars because my fingers are hurting, that is my choice.
Yes.
I love how we have a choice. We can move wherever we want in the world. We can make that happen. We can decide what we want to do in our relationships as long as we take personal accountability for what it is that we want, so we can show up as our authentic selves.
Yes.
And as a result, that affects our relationship, right? Usually in a positive direction.
Yes.
Right? So I love this. And then we get to manifest our dreams, and that's what it's all about. So if anybody is listening that kind of want to know more about your services, who exactly do you serve at this point? I know you serve therapists with virtual assistants. So speak to that person that you can help, and how will they find you?
So I work with therapists and other providers for mental health who have caseloads where they want to really focus in on working with the clients and struggle with the admin, the business side. We have professionals that have been doing that stuff for years, and they help you out, HIPAA compliant, budget friendly. And then hopefully in the future, I'll be creating another business where I create virtual assistants for people who struggle with executive functioning issues, ADH stuff. The people who are like, I'm never going to the doctor because I can't call the doctor's office and make that appointment. Being able to provide a service, a monthly subscription type of thing. Be like, hey, I need this, and this done. Can you do that? Can you send me a reminder? So hopefully this is a plan down the line, is executive assistance for executive functioning.
I love this stuff. I love what you do. It's so needed out there. And especially for somebody who has been there yourself, right? I mean, you know what you're struggling with, right?
Yes.
And then business as well. It's just amazing. And it's so needed. So if you're a person that needs more help on that, so you can just focus on your work, therapist, one-on-one, then Melissa is your person. So
yes,
I really appreciate it, this conversation today. Thank you for bringing so much light and fun to these deeper conversations about personal growth and higher purpose, and things that sometimes can get too serious and too heavy. I don't think that that's how we go through life. I think this is about having fun, connecting with other people who have fun along the journey. And this is why Melissa's here today, because as soon as we connected, I'm like, you gotta come on my podcast and share your energy, because it's just beautiful and it's very special what you have accomplished in life and how you are, living the life that you've always desired. And it's so inspirational.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate being able to share my story with you and your audience.
Absolutely. Any final words, advice? That
I think my final words are: take the time, get to know you, and just live with an open heart.
Thank you so much. Everybody, I really hope that you have enjoyed today's episode with Melissa. It was such a joy and appreciation of having her here today. Everybody, be authentic, be true to who you are. Remember, practice. Lay those small pavers out to create the road to the life that you desire. That is the advice and the takeaway from today. And until then, be well, take care, and I will see you next time.